Hi everyone, I am working today with the Forever and Always stamp set and matching dies, which I put in here because I kept misplacing them. And it's a really fun stamp set, and so I wanted to make a card for love, but I decided I wanted to not make pink and red. I decided to go with a bold, bright color because I'm just still in the rich color tones, I think, set of mind. Because of the holidays, I always kind of gravitate towards some of the deeper colors in the winter and fall, and I just haven't quite gotten out of it. And I really love Bermuda Bay. So I decided to make a card with Bermuda Bay, and I'm using this stamp set here, and I want to show off these dies and the stamp set, and I also want to show off the paper in this suite. Now this is a huge suite. They call it a mega suite of products because it actually has 2 stamp sets and 2 die sets that kind of all coordinate together, which is, so it's a mega suite. And it's really lovely. You can choose if you want to get both of them or if you want to pick which one is your favorite. I ended up going with this one, and let me turn the page to show you. But there are all kinds of fun accents, and this paper really caught my eye because of the black and white. I love coloring, so I knew that I could do some coloring techniques. You can also sponge on these papers and change the colors completely. So you have a lot of options with black and white designer series paper, so I loved that. And then of course there's some foil sheets, some little black gems, little hearts, some really pretty ribbon, a cute little box, all kinds of stuff in this suite. And turn the page and they give you close-ups of both of the stamp sets. So I'm working with this one, Forever and Always, and then the dies are called Always dies. So let me show you those dies really quick. I love that you've got 2 different ways to do the words. So you can stamp the words and then cut them out with this die, which goes around them. So you've got a nice way to cut out your stamped image. But then you also, if you don't want that, you can actually cut out a thinner version, and it's just the letters themselves, the words. And I cut out the word love a minute ago. It's under the ink pad. So you can cut out just the word, or you can stamp the word and then cut out. So you've got 2 different ways to do it. Just the word, or around a stamped image of the word. So those are really fun. And then they give you in the die collection several of these little kind of cutouts, which are fun. They fit on all of these words. So you can cut out love and then you so very much, like that. And so then you've got 3 different sizes there to go with the smaller or medium size or the longer. So that's fun. And then I like that you've got a cutout for the leaves and the floral, and that's great. And then they give you this little bonus, which is the cutest thing. It's tiny little flowers, and they're adorable. And you can just add them on your cards. They're super cute, and I love that it cuts out 4 little flowers at once. So I know that I'll use that little guy a lot. But the card that I want to show you today, let me put this away before I lose it. Is this one. So I'm making this card, and I'm using, instead of the floral images from here, I am actually using them from the paper, the black and white paper collection. So you've got on one side of the paper, usually there's kind of a floral, and on the other side something a little more simple. So here's a stripe, you've got a floral on this side, and then cute little dots. And then here, these cute daisies, I really like these. And on the back of that, you've got a stripe. Look at the bold floral here, that would be fun to color. And on the back, kind of it's like a little diamonds, but they look like polka dots almost. And then the one that I used up is this one, and it has a kind of a fun geometric pattern on the one side, and on the back it has this kind of small floral. And then the last one I used is this one, and this one has flowers on one side. They're bigger and they're separated kind of nice, so easier to color. And on the back is this geometric pattern. So it's kind of hard to decide which ones I wanted to color and which ones I wanted to use for the pattern, because I really liked this pattern as well. But I went with this combination. And then I colored an entire sheet with my Stampin' Blend, and I did an entire sheet of the Bermuda Bay. And here I used Bermuda Bay, light and dark, and on the very tips I used Dark Pool Party. And then my green here is Granny Apple Green. And in the centers I have the Daffodil Delight. And then I wanted to try some other colors, and here's Daffodil Delight with the tips are So Saffron. And then here, these are Rich Razzleberry. And you can see it bleeds through, but that's okay because you're not going to see it. I was worried that the design on the back, these patterns, would show through. And when they were wet, they did show through slightly. But then as it's dried, you can no longer see that diamond pattern at all through the yellow. I knew that you wouldn't see it so much through the darker, so I was concerned about the yellow, but it doesn't show at all. So here's my little card. Now I want to show you how to put this together with this diagonal, and then something I want you to notice is that I did a half cut with the die. So that means that instead of cutting out the entire love word, I stopped halfway. So I want to show you how to do that. So then it's connected still at the bottom half, and then the top half is cut out. So that's kind of a fun little thing. I was just trying to show something different. And I'm not going to do the coloring of the paper. That took me a very long time. I just colored paper all evening. And so I'm not going to show that in my video. I've already got it done. And I've done coloring before, and maybe I'm sure I'll do more videos with coloring. But that's already all done for us. I have an entire sheet cut out. Now I do want to point out, I did cut out, even if the flower landed on the edge. So like, see how these, they're cut out? I colored them anyway. I mean, I didn't color this one. But anything that had a somewhat decent flower, you know, where you can see that it's still a flower, I colored it. If it was just this tiny little leaf sticking out, I did not. But I might have, I don't know if I did these petals either. But this one I thought was enough. So you just kind of, I colored all of it. And the reason why I did even the ones that were cut in half is because sometimes I like to use them on the inside. You see that? It's kind of pretty to have a little bit of flower on the inside as well. It kind of finishes off the inside. And then also what you don't know is one of these, where's my other one that's done? This one? Yeah, that was an end flower. So his, right here, this part was cut off, but you can't tell because I just tucked it underneath there. So you can still use this flower even though it's not a full flower. Get some use out of it and use it there. And then I also used it here on some of those that are cut off. It's like this one here was cut off. And it is probably this one. Yeah, it was here. So I colored it in and I used it on the edge of this card. So you can see that even though they're not full flowers, you can still use them. So I really liked finding ways to use the flowers that are not full. Like this one I'm going to use. It's really big and it'll tuck right under one of those little strips, so no one will know that I used the edge of a paper. Okay, so let's make this card. I want to show you how to do this diagonal cut the easiest way, and then I want to show you how to do a half die cut. Okay, so like I said, we're using our Bermuda Bay. Let me find my base. So I've got a sheet of Bermuda Bay that I've scored down the center and cut it 5.5, so it's half a sheet. And then I took the Designer Series paper that I want to use and cut it 4 by 5.25, so that's going to end up right there. Okay, and then you need to cut some strips of Bermuda Bay. And I cut them at 1 5/8, so just past the 1.5. And I cut a bunch of strips. And then how you get your angle is you can decide how steep do you want that angle. Do you want it here? Do you want it here? Get it where you want it. And then you're just going to take a pencil like so, and cut. And once you've got one, you can go ahead and do a second one. Just lay it on top of the strip there and cut. Now you can also line it up on your paper trimmer and cut it on the paper trimmer too. Okay, and then you need to do the same thing with a black sheet of paper. But you can go ahead and just lay it right on top of your Bermuda Bay piece. Okay, now here's where it's important. These might have fallen down, you've got them upside down. You want to know which side is which, because if you were to start stamping and not lining it up again and you stamped on this side, it's no longer going to line up. So you want to make sure you're stamping on the correct side and you're embossing on the correct side. So make sure you've got them right. Okay, which I do. And then we're going to take one of our stamps from our set. You can do with my whole heart. I'm going to do you so very much. So I'm taking this long strip here and I'm going to stamp it directly onto my Bermuda Bay strip. And you're just lining it up with the edge here. I'm doing two because I need these. And so I thought I might as well make two at a time since that strip works. And I don't want to get them mixed up with others. You want to, oh, look what I did. I didn't do what I told you to do. I didn't make sure it was on the right side. See? I made that mistake on purpose so you would know. No. Luckily, this one you can turn over. The die one you cannot because you can't recut it. Okay. There. All right. Put those aside and we're going to do our embossing. Let me get my other one of these. So here we're going to use the love and we're going to emboss. So I need my Versamark. And you want to go somewhat towards the left. And I'm going to use my gold embossing powder. Okay, we're going to heat those up. Okay, now we're going to do our half cut. So something that I found that helps me is I took a post-it note and a ruler and I just kind of made a note as to how far down I wanted to cut, so then I could line up, just so that it stays straight, I could line this little pencil mark with the angle of the cardstock, just to kind of help me line things up. And then I take the die and place it over the love, and I used a little bit of washi tape just to kind of hold it in place. Okay, and then we're going to do a half cut. So this is kind of bulky for my desk, but I hope that you can see what I'm doing here. I've got my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I've got my plate 1 and 2, which you use when you're doing dies, and then you need your clear plates. So put one of the clear plates down, and then you're going to put your die here, but you're only going to put this clear plate, the second clear plate, you're only going to put it over the part you want to cut. And that way, when the pressure gets put onto, so you got to make sure that angle is right. When the pressure is put onto the plate, there's no pressure here, so it's not going to cut there. Another thing to remember is that these plates have an angle on them, so you need to go past that angle, that little beveled area, like that. So it's kind of funny to line up. Then you've got it lined up. Kind of hold it with your hand as you're cranking it through. And then, when it comes out the other side, oops, my camera stands in the way, so it's hard to get this in the view of the camera. So hopefully you were able to see what I did. Okay, so then it only cut the top half where there were 2 of those clear plates, and it didn't cut the bottom half where there was not, like this. So you can see it's cut through the top half. Now this is, you can do this with a fun little fold, like a tent fold or something. There's different ways to use those half cut ideas. Now here you can decide if you're a really straight cutter and you want to use your just your paper snips. If you're not such a straight cutter and you want to go ahead, put your post-it note there, you can. But I like to just take it off of this, and I have pretty good view of where I want to cut, and I put it on my paper trimmer just to get most of the way, if that makes sense, and to help it stay where I want, because it's got that angle cut so you can't put it up against an edge. I just take a little bit of washi to hold it in place. And then I don't want to go all the way across, so I just kind of give it a nice little part of the way just to help me get that straight line. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And then I finish it off with my paper snips. Then I go up to the cut. And then let me turn it and do, so I go most of the way with the trimmer just because I don't trust myself in getting that nice straight line. So there's my half cut. Isn't that fun? Okay, so now we're just going to line this all up. Now another thing I did for this card that I will show you is I wanted to have ribbon in Bermuda Bay, and we don't have currently a ribbon in Bermuda Bay, but we do have somewhere on my desk crinkle white, and as you can see I've already got some done. Now you can see on my paper what I've been doing. I've been coloring the crinkle white ribbon. Now on one instance I took the pad, the Bermuda Bay ink pad, and a sponge, and what I did was I held the ribbon on the ink pad and then just ran my sponge, but that made the ribbon really dark, which is pretty. It goes with the darker areas of my flower. And then on this one I decided I wanted to try something a little lighter, just for some, because my card is very dark, and instead of running it on the ink pad I used the sponge and just kind of ran the sponge over. Let me get to a white area so you can kind of see. Alright, here it's white again. So I just dipped my sponge in here and just kind of ran it along the ribbon. And you can decide how many times you want to do that. I only did it a little bit right here, and you don't even have to, if you don't want to, do both sides, because it's such a sheer and light ribbon that you do still get a little color poking through. And I think that's a really light tone of the Bermuda Bay. So decide how big you want to go. Do you want to go super dark? You can even use your Stampin' Blends to color your ribbon, and that's up to you. So there's different ways. You can even take the ribbon and use re-inkers and dip the ribbon in a little water and re-inker solution. There's lots of ways. This is kind of what I think is the cleanest way. My hands did get kind of inky when I was doing it with the deeper color, but with the sponge here, it just didn't get quite as messy. So here, for my card, I just want a big and loose ribbon. It's going to go behind my sentiment panel, so it's got to be kind of big and loose. So, like that, kind of big and loose. Let's tighten it a little bit. Okay. Okay. And then we've got our pieces. Now when you cut these pieces into 4 by 5 1/4, you're left off. Let me do another one because I need more. So I've got a 5 1/4. You're left over with this little guy here. So you've got 2 pieces and then this one left over. So what I do with this little leftover, you can save it and use it for something else, but I cut it in half. And oops, let me get this little washi tape off of here. I cut it in half, which is at about 3/4 of an inch. And that is what I use for the inside, like so. And that way you've used up the whole strip. There's no leftover scraps, and it kind of feels good to use up the whole strip. At least for me. You've got it. It's perfect because you got 2 outsides and 2 insides, and it makes me very pleased. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this together. Okay, and then these 2 layer on top of each other. I'm going to go ahead and use my liquid glue so I can get up in these little areas. And just go right under that "love you so very much," like so. And if you need to do any trimming, something hangs off the edge just a little bit, now is the time to do it. And now we're going to stick our bow down. Okay. And for that, I just used a glue dot. And then we'll pick some of our flowers here. Where was that one that had a cut in it? No, I'm not going to find it. There's a good one. Here's a good one. Okay. So you're going to take your sentiment and use dimensionals to kind of pop it up a little bit. Go right over, and then you're going to tuck your floral pieces underneath. So making sure that you clear your card. Sometimes I see cards where stuff is sticking past the actual card itself, and I wonder how they have to get a bigger envelope then to get that in there. Okay, and then I've got my kind of fabric-y element. I like to have a soft element, and then I have these rhinestone-y looking gems. These are blue adhesive back gems, and they come in a couple different, if you look in the light, These are more of a true blue, and I think that would probably go good with a Misty Moonlight, a Pacific Point, Marina Mist, Seaside Spray. And then these are deeper, and I think that you could put that with Pretty Peacock, Bermuda Bay, probably even some shaded spruce. The color that catches is kind of gold, but it also kind of catches a slight purple. You could do this really nicely with Rich Razzleberry, Blackberry Bliss. So I thought that the shine on this has a gold hue to it, which looks kind of pretty with my gold embossing. So I'm going to trim these little tails down just a little and add some little gems. And you can add as many as you think you want. Catch the light nicely. Here. And then for the inside, we're going to do a piece of white. But we're going to look for a little cut piece. There's one. And our little tiny strip of Designer Series paper. I'm going to tuck the, oh, I made a little bit of a mess. I touched my adhesive to the paper, which made a little smuts of glue there. So we're going to be careful with that, and I will use my glue gum eraser to get that off once it's dry. So I will leave my card open until that happens. There we go. I'm going to leave it open with my thumb there, or my finger, and show you the done one. You know, I kind of think I like the darker ribbon now that I've done the light and the dark. You tell me, what do you like, the darker ribbon or the lighter ribbon? All right. So there is my Love You So Very Much card. And then I'm going to work on doing a version in the Daffodil Delight and the Rich Razzleberry. I'll post those versions on my blog and also on my Facebook page so you can see what those look like. That'll be fun. And I'm going to use this paper a lot. The little daisy paper is calling me, so I'm going to probably use sponging on that one. And here's another version. And I'll do the same thing with this one with the white interior, and I'll look for a scrap. Here's another one that can go on the inside. Now sometimes it's a scrap that came from a corner. See how this one has a flat top and a flat side? So then that, you have to make sure you tuck it into the right size corner, or it can come, you can do that on the bottom too. It doesn't have to be at the top. You can do the strip at the bottom. Either way works. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you'll go ahead and take a look at that Mega Suite. It's really pretty, and there's so many elements with it. And like I said, they use really beautiful colors here with their pinks, but you can do it with any color you like. But this paper is gorgeous, and this foil paper is gorgeous too. Be sure to check out the True Love Designer Series paper if you love to color, because you're going to have fun with sponging, coloring with blends, coloring with your pencils, markers, whatever you want on your True Love Designer Series paper. That black and white, and then when you don't want to use floral, those geometrics are going to go on anything. It's a great accent. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye!